You're listening to Simple Roots Radio, episode number 182, and today is another episode in the Ennea Health series where I interview an Enneagram Type 1.
Welcome to Simple Roots Radio with Alexa Sherm. Alexa believes that simplicity in life is the key to achieving true and lasting health. And now your host, Alexa Sherm.
Welcome back to this podcast. As always, my name is Alexa, and this is the place to get healthy, live happy, and find more joy. I am so pumped that you're here joining us on this Ennea Health series, how to create nourishing life rhythms using your Enneagram type. Now, if you've been following along, then you know the importance of the Enneagram and why this matters, and kind of redefining or going back to the original definition of self-care, which basically means to know yourself so well that you know how to care for yourself. Not what we think of self-care now as like bath bombs and massages and getting our nails done. Those are all great, and that can be a part of self-care, but that's what we call self-indulgence. And yes, we all love a good self-indulgence every once in a while, but that is not self-care. Self-care is knowing yourself so well. It's having such deep self-awareness that you know how to heal and to respect and love on your body the way that it needs to. And that's where the Enneagram can come in. And this week on the show, we're diving into Type 1. So if you haven't listened to the bare bones basic about how to live healthy and create nourishing life rhythms, if you're an Enneagram Type 1, go back to episode number 180 and listen to that now. And then come back because today I'm interviewing one of my friends who is an Enneagram Type 1 and how knowing her Enneagram number has helped her in the health space. It's helped make better goals and overcome obstacles and hurdles, and really just her advice for anyone who is an Enneagram Type 1 or who lives with one or knows of one, right? Like these are the steps and the real life practical tips on creating nourishing life rhythms that stick. Because the bottom line in all of this is that we have to be a people who stops trying to fix our health and fix our bodies and fix our lives, and instead become a people who just fill ourselves up. Because the intended purpose of health was never to live for it. It wasn't to spend all of our money on it and to let it wreck our life and wait to make us happy, and you have to wait until you get a certain weight to be more joy-filled. No. That's not what health is. Health was intended to be something that we lived with so we can go out and live our passion. It's not something we do, but it's who we are. And that's what we need to get back to. So today on the show, I have a friend. Her name is Shelby. And she is such an inspiration. She knows so much about the Enneagram Type 1, and she also is kind of revamping her entire fitness and health plan, and she's going to share more about that there. So make sure you stay tuned as I ask Shelby about being an Enneagram Type 1, how she's learned how to really care for herself in a deep way, and also some obstacles and hurdles she faces, and her best advice she could leave us with as Enneagram Type 1s. If you want to learn more about Shelby, you can follow her on Instagram. Her name is shelby.redeemed, and she has a whole health journey that she's going on, and I'm sure she would love to be an encouragement there for you. I'll make sure and link all of that up in the show notes, as well as the free download. If you're an Enneagram Type 1, just practical application and some prompts that you can start thinking about in order to do self-care the right way, to know so deeply who you are that you know how to care for yourself. So head on over to the show notes, simplerootswellness.com/182 to grab that free download for Enneagram Type 1s. But before we get to today's show, I just want to remind you again of the sponsor for the Ennea Health series, and that is Joovv. Joovv is the founder of one of my favorite products today. It is a red light therapy device that I've been using for the last few months, and honestly, I have found so many benefits. If you've been around the show, then you've heard me talk about them before and even interviewed their co-founder, Melissa Strahan, on episode number 148, where we dive headfirst into the red light therapy. Since that show, red light therapy has become a part of my daily routine, and the research behind their benefit is incredible. If you want to get into the scientific jargon, I'll just leave you with a little tidbit that you can go and research. But red light gets its benefit from the specific wavelength that acts on the body in various ways. It acts in the cellular level, and it's been shown to improve mitochondrial function and increase the production of ATP, or energy, in the body. This brings about a number of healing benefits, and some that I've specifically noticed have been increased and better lymphatic flow, brighter and healthier looking skin and hair, as well as more energy and less brain fog. Another little bonus perk that I've noticed is that I've kind of deflated. That's partly due because of my lymphatic flow, but technically some research also shows that red light therapy helps to mobilize body fat stores and increase your metabolism, getting rid of unwanted bulk. Now, the thing about Joovv is that they also combine red light therapy with infrared therapy, which goes at a much deeper cellular level, and that's where this becomes pretty incredible. All of that to say is Joovv has done their research and have a number of products that you can use anywhere, like the new Joovv Go, which is a handheld and much more affordable device that can do spot treatment, or you can pack it in your suitcase to take on the go, all the way up to their full body panels, which can be purchased separately and grouped together over time because of their patented modular design. Honestly, red light therapy is just another tool to help foster natural healing and rejuvenation in the body using their state-of-the-art devices. To learn more about Joovv and what they have to offer, make sure you head on over to Joovv, that's JOOVV.com/SimpleRoots, and include Simple Roots in the checkout because they have a free gift just for you. Like I said, I love my Joovv. I use it every day, and soon I'm going to do a full post on before and after pictures of 60 days using my Joovv every single day. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's get back to my friend Shelby as I interview her about being an Enneagram Type 1 and what that means for creating nourishing life rhythms. Welcome to the show, Shelby. It's so fun to have just my friends on the show, and I really follow you because you know way more about the Enneagram 1 than I probably even can relate in this message. I've done a lot of research, but girl, you know your Enneagram 1. So I'm excited to dive into a real life perspective of how we can create nourishing life rhythms based on our Enneagram type. Now, no pressure, because I know ones don't like to feel the pressure, already being perfectionist, that you're called Enneagram 1s. Isn't that ironic? I'm like, why would they make the perfectionist type the number 1?
They say there's no order, but I'm like, oh, okay. I think that was on purpose.
Right. You just set the bar. Okay. But really, I just want you to give me a brief overview about an Enneagram 1, what you love about it and what you struggle with it. Because I think that there is this notion that it boxes us in, but I really feel like the Enneagram is supposed to unbox us from what we've already created on ourselves. I don't know if that made any sense, but anyways,
sure, yeah.
So kind of go over what do you love about it and what do you struggle with?
So overall, I think the Enneagram 1s have this deep desire to be good is typically the word they use for it, but I like to say like right, and not like you're wrong, I'm right, but like morally right. Like this is the correct thing to do. They strive to be perfect, which is just hilarious because you can't be.
Right.
And I think the first step to like accepting you're an Enneagram 1 is like saying, okay, I can't be perfect. But we really just want to make things better. Like we're action oriented. When something gets in front of me, I'm like, how can I fix it? How can I improve it? We're stereotypically said that we're judgmental, but I think that's mostly towards ourselves. So we have like the inner critic that is just constantly saying like, this is how it should be, and this isn't how it isn't. Like this gap is your fault kind of thing. So that kind of just like haunts an Enneagram 1 all the time. We have a lot of integrity though. We're super committed. We're responsible. We're reliable. So I love being an Enneagram 1, and I absolutely hate it. Like, I love it because we get stuff done. Like, we are really high capacity. We're organized. We're efficient. Like, I would like me in my corner. I'm like, I'm reliable. Like, I'm a great person. But then I'm also like, I am so rigid, and I'm one-track minded, and I lack a lot of grace for myself and others, if I'm being honest. Have high expectations that are just like ridiculous all the time. And of course, we are perfectionists. I think that shows up differently in every person's behavior. But at the core of it, like we do have this drive to be perfect. And so it makes us perfectionists. And that is not a good thing. So that is what I don't like about being a 1.
Right, right. And when I did this whole research, honestly, I had no idea that my wing for my Enneagram type, so I'm an Enneagram 2. I always thought my wing was an Enneagram 3, but I'm totally a 1. And the reason I'm a 1 is that inner self-critic is strong in my mind. Like it's an all-day thing. And I guess I didn't realize that this is more a personality-based thing rather than what do I want to say? Like, I just assumed everyone had that, but I couldn't quite fathom,
Right.
like, even when I would talk to Peyton, he's like, what do you mean your mind's running all the time? And how does your mind tell you all this stuff? I'm like, no, it's just constant chatter. And like you said, I think there's kind of this negative, I didn't want to be a 1. I was like, no way, like, I can't be a 1 because I kind of thought that it was just harsh on the world. But I'm coming to learn that Enneagram 1s, and I think this is important in health, and what I want to ask you next is we're the hardest on ourselves. And that inner critic is creating expectations that we believe, but those expectations are often unmet, and it's leading to excess stress and, it's this constant like battle with the inner critic. So as you've done health, obviously the inner critic is a huge hurdle. And I think it's something that we need to talk about in the health space with Enneagram 1s. How do you deal with your inner critic?
Well, I have to, like I said, you have to get to that first place where you say, like, I can't be perfect. And sometimes saying that to myself, like, I can't be perfect. And I can do one little thing at a time well. I mean, I think, like, back to all the things that I said I love and I hate about my Enneagram type, I have to, like, go back to those things I love and, like, find that I've been given those as gifts. Those are good things. And almost speaking to myself, saying, like, no, this is the gifting that I'm leaning into. This is what I'm good at. Even though, yes, I do fall short. That's normal for everyone to fall short in areas. And just going back to, this is what I'm good at. This is okay. And I'm stepping into my gifting instead.
Right. So going along those lines, what are some other hurdles you face with getting healthy? Like really uncovering your true health as a person as it relates to your, like, what are those hurdles that you face?
I think that, at least for me, all or nothing is a huge barrier for 1s. Like that mentality of, like, I'm 100% in, because we're really good at being 100% in, but you can't be 100% forever.
Right.
And so, like, realizing that I was being 100% in on this, and then I was making a mistake, and I was spiraling out of control because I made one mistake. Like, that's not long-term, like, gonna work to be healthy. Also, like, a hurdle for me definitely was just defining something as healthy or unhealthy, like looking at times in my life and saying I was unhealthy or I was healthy. Instead of seeing it as like a journey, I was seeing it as a box being checked or not. And so then, like, a little mistake, I'm like, well, I can't check the healthy box today, and so why would I check it tomorrow? And it would just kind of go out of control there. So I definitely think that the all or nothing mentality is a huge hurdle to Enneagram 1s.
Right. This all or nothing mindset of it's either good or it's bad, and there's really no gray area. Is that how you would describe it? So, and
totally. And I didn't think I was a black or white person, but then I see, like, especially in health, making mistakes. I didn't allow there to be any gray area. I see it as black or white, healthy, unhealthy. So totally.
So now, how do you go about overcoming that, of recognizing that you can make mistakes, but it doesn't have to sabotage you? Because what I've learned in the Enneagram research of 1s is, 1, they're the most likely to emotionally eat. Like you said, we're either hot or we're cold, and we're either really, really good or we're really, really off. And so we have to learn how we can kind of create this behavior modification, so to say, about understanding that's part of us and really being aware of that so we can maybe take back control of that. So what are some ways that you do that in your daily life of getting out of the black or white and entering this unknown gray area?
Sure. So I think that, like, commitment, like, leaning into our strengths. Commitment is a strength. Integrity, like, this purpose. We do have a purpose. We want to pursue health, and that's good. Getting out of one mistake, like making a spiral, I think is patience. So I really struggled at the beginning of my, like, health journey, although I think our whole life is a health journey. But I struggled at the beginning thinking that being good isn't good enough. I kept on coming back to that phrase. I'm like, I'm being good. I'm doing everything right, and, like, the pounds aren't coming off, or I'm not feeling strong in this way, or I'm not drawn to these foods, even though they say you're going to acquire a taste to good foods. And I just kept on saying, when being good isn't good enough. And I think the response to that is patience. I mean, being angry that you're not a good enough can only be solved with patience. And so that is what I have used when I have those feelings of, but everyone else almost, everyone else doesn't have to be as good as me. It's that pressure that Enneagram 1s have on their shoulders. And I'm like, the only thing that can solve this is just patience and commitment and staying the course. And in order to help myself stay the course, I remember that there's a lot of integrity behind wanting to pursue health. Like, that is a good and that is a noble cause. So at least for me, like, that's kind of how I've had to put emotion behind my actual daily steps.
Right. And I love how you have this focus on using our strengths, because I think that's hard just in general. Like, that shows how healthy you are as the Enneagram 1, because it's really a challenge sometimes to look at change as just leveraging what we're naturally gifted at. And that's the whole purpose of this series, is to show you, hey, if you're this Enneagram, here's some ways to leverage that for your benefit, because our weaknesses are going to be there. But I love that you override those with your strengths. So what are some ways that you do practically leverage your strengths as an Enneagram 1?
I think back to the commitment, I really hold on to that. And when we say we're going to do something, we do it. So I'm going to commit to something, and I've learned don't go 100% right away. Commit to something little every day. That's fine. But I know I can do commitment. It's just how much am I putting on my plate when I do commit. So I leverage that strength that I am reliable, even to myself. I can rely on myself if I make a commitment. It's just being more wise and aware in my health. How much do I start with committing to, so I don't set myself up for failure?
Yeah, that's really great. It's great to know those boundaries too. So I have some things that I shared in the last episode, and I want to know if these seem practical to a 1. These were just a list of things that I said, and I want to see if you would add anything to it. So when it comes specifically to diet and exercise, I said 1s should really leverage meal planning, because 1s like a list and organization. So meal planning and meal prep. How does that feel to you?
Totally. It makes me feel on top of the world too. I'm yeah, I got this together. We love writing stuff down, checking things off. So if we can set ourselves up to check off something and make ourselves feel successful, that's great. It will make more success.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so another one was, there's this idea with 1s that we can get stuck in the same routine over and over and over again, and which is great, but at the same time, if it becomes, it's almost like 1s are so self-aware, but they don't act on their self-awareness. So what I mean by that is 1s are most likely to push through the pain of a workout because they just want to succeed at the workout, and they don't care how much pain they went through to get there. Would you say that's accurate?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So
I feel like I've spent years pushing through workouts that weren't really for my body, just because I wanted to be able to do it, to say I did it,
Right. Yeah. So things like yoga and slower workouts tend to be harder for 1s, because it doesn't feel as if you've maybe succeeded enough, or it's almost like no pain, no gain is a really common mindset for a 1, of there has to be this suffering involved to see success. And so what I wrote down for some exercise points is mixing up your workouts, trying to stay out of the routine, because boredom is a real problem with 1s. And also yoga and listening to your body and acting on it.
Yeah, that resonates with me, because that's a struggle for sure. I had a yoga workout plan this morning, and I did half of it, but I'm committed, so I'm going to finish it tonight.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, it's not as appealing. Slower workouts don't tend to be as appealing to 1s, but they're also very life-giving to a 1, because one of the things that 1s need to do, 1s are in the action triad or whatever. I think it's 1s, 3s, and 8s. They're the most action takers. They're go-getters. They're always on the go. You, I know you're always on the move, right? You're go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And I'm that way too. And I think there's value in making a 1 slow down. And even when I bring up some lifestyle things, I think it's important for 1s in the health space that we have to learn to relax, and solidarity, getting in touch with yourself, quietness and space and journaling. Those can all be really difficult things for 1s, but in the health spectrum, super powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes what's hardest is what's best. I see that a lot, because even saying that, I'm if I sat down with a journal, that would be so challenging to me because I would write down a to-do list, or I would write down, action-oriented stuff instead of doing like internal work. It's really hard for us.
Yeah. And then one other thing that I had was that ones are really like in health, they go to a 7, so they're more spontaneous and adventurous. But fun doesn't necessarily come easily to a 1 because there's other things that need to be done. There's other reform that needs to happen, right? So scheduling fun. Yeah. How do you work around this? Like, I feel like I know you and I feel like you're a super fun person. I probably wouldn't have tagged you. I would see you more as like a 7 in some occasions. But
well, thank you. Bless your heart. I love that. I just want to be a 7. I want people to think I'm a 7, but my inner critic would never let me be.
Right. How do you find this balance of fun in your life?
I think other people who don't understand the Enneagram, especially Enneagram 1s, would say like, just like push all your to-do list to the side and have some fun. And I'm like, no, I get everything done. Like I plan my day that like I'm getting this all done so that I can have fun during this time. Like if we have plans that evening or something in the afternoon with the kids or whatever, I like purposely will get up early and do the stuff so that it's not on my mind, because it's not realistic for a 1 to just like push their to-do list and their responsibilities to the side for a couple hours. It like is always on our mind. So I just make the time for it. Like, and like fun is worth it. And so I'm going to work hard before so that I can go have fun. And for a while I thought that was ridiculous, but understanding, like once you understand the Enneagram and it kind of just clicks, it's like, that's okay. That's how I was wired. And if I need to do that to enjoy things, that's okay.
Right. And I like that perspective because I think that's why this is important in knowing yourself is there's so many ideas of what you should be doing. But if it doesn't work for you and it doesn't bring you joy, even if it brings someone else joy, like that doesn't mean that there's nothing that will help you. It's just finding what works for you. So kind of breaking down those false ideas of what it takes to get there and just starting to understand who you are and accepting that. And I'm the same way with you. Like if there's things to be done, I know I'm a better person if I just get them done rather than just setting it aside and going out because it's always on my mind. Then I'm crabby and I'm not as involved in the conversation and all those things. So
totally.
Just a few other things that I had given advice on. I just said in general, ones need to focus on a little bit more flexibility within themselves I think also to be aware of our inner critic and maybe challenge our inner critic, which has been something that's been challenging for me and yet at the same time super refreshing. This is just something I've been doing lately is that a true statement that I'm telling myself? I'm not sure exactly if I've really overcome that, but just being aware of, is this true or is just this my inner critic just kind of just beating me down all the time? And it's exhausting. Is your inner critic exhausting sometimes?
Totally. And then it's like, in your mind, it's like, what is true? What should I be listening to? So that's so good to like challenge it right then.
Yeah.
Sometimes, at the end of the day, I'm so exhausted and I'm like, well, where did all these thoughts come from? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So some of the advice was give your inner critic a rest. I wasn't quite sure what that would look like for me. I don't know if you have an answer to that. Like I when I was doing research, it just kept saying, give your inner critic a rest. And I couldn't really quite pinpoint how I might go about doing that. I don't know if you've ever thought about that.
That's interesting. I've never thought about that, but in my mind, I do think like I'm a Christian and I come from that perspective. And I think sometimes it's like giving permission to that voice in my head, because I know that voice isn't coming from God, like something that's constantly tearing down. And like, we have the power to just not give it permission to speak. So that would be my way of giving it a rest. I a lot of times like to see the inner critic as like pointing out that gap between me and perfection, or a situation and perfection. And so a helpful thing for me to say is like, let grace fill the gap. Like I don't have to fill that gap. There is going to always be a gap between where I'm at and perfection, but like grace can fill that. And that's kind of the way that I fight off whatever the inner critic wants to tell me about that gap.
Yeah. I really think that ones just need grace upon grace upon grace. And I mean, it's just a daily choice to take that grace, knowing that it's nothing that we can do or work for, but it's just a gift. And yeah, I think that's so valuable. But again, something that takes a lot of awareness and working on. So as we look more at these healthy habits or lifestyle rhythms, what do you feel like as you've learned more about the Enneagram? What are some things that have really stuck for you? Like things that like hit home, this makes sense, this works, and it's stuck.
As far as like action-oriented things?
Yeah, or just anything, mindset or action-oriented things as it relates to health.
Of course, I'm like looking for the action-oriented because I'm the one.
Yeah.
But I think like starting little has just been so key. Like one small goal a day, and set that as the expectation, because I've learned that ones are like obsessed with expectations. And so I'm like, I can control the expectation for the day, and I'm not going to make it perfection. I'm going to do this 1, 2, however many like goals for the day, because we do like to-do lists. We like to have like a purpose. So that's okay. I'm going to leverage that. So playing off of that, but then also like making it more than just a to-do list. I've been like choosing every day like a different reason why. Why am I pursuing health? Because we do like to have a purpose. We like to reform. We like to make things better. And so looking at my health, I'm like, why do I want to make it better? And every day choosing something different to just kind of meditate on. It's making health more about like my mind, my body, my soul all together than rather it just be like an action that I need to get done every day.
Yeah, I like that. I feel like everything that kept coming to mind for me was ones just tend to be fixers in general, and like coming alongside of ourselves and just recognizing how can I just fill myself? Like I feel like that's been such a huge transformation for me, is to say I don't need to work out to fix my problem or whatever I see as a problem, or to eat this food to fix whatever I think is my health problem, right? Like how can I just nourish my body and fill it, and my mind and my soul, right? Like taking it from like this works-based idea into just grace-filled way of life. And I think that's exactly kind of what you said.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful.
So speaking of grace, what grace do Enneagram 1s need to give themselves?
What grace? What is grace? We need like all the grace. As I said at the beginning, for me, it's like the first thing is knowing like I'm not enough. And that is in of itself so much grace to me. Like just acknowledging I'm not enough. I think like a lot of people want to counter one's frustrations with like, you are enough, you do enough. And it's like, the truth is I'm not, and that's okay. Grace allows me to cope with that. It gives me freedom to make mistakes and it not be the end of the world. So we definitely need grace for ourselves in that way, but I also see like grace towards other people, and the Enneagram has so helped me give that grace to people by just seeing that like their world is so different than mine. How they perceive things and how they're portraying things is like beautiful in of itself, and it's not like me, and that's okay. So grace towards others has totally transformed.
It takes a whole level of pressure off of, again, the unmet expectation is a really hard thing, I think, especially maybe for a 1. And I can't tell if it's unrealistic, but I like your idea of setting smaller expectations or little goals. But I'm still fighting that, like on the daily, like on the weekends, I expect certain things are going to happen or go a certain way. And unmet expectations, oh man, my inner critic loves that, right? Like,
yeah,
there's nothing more fun than that. But yeah, that is really good. Okay, so as an Enneagram 1, how would you encourage another Enneagram 1?
I would just say it doesn't have to be perfect for you to start, because I think we get tripped up in the middle of pursuing health, or we get tripped up before we even try to start pursuing health because we can't do it perfectly. And it doesn't have to be perfect to start. Like, it's noble and it's good, and it is reforming just to take one step at a time and maybe make a mistake, and then you just get back to it. I mean, it sounds like saying this is easier than it is to actually walk it out as an Enneagram 1, but just keep on telling yourself, like, it doesn't have to be perfect to start.
Yeah. Do you find that that's like a daily thing? Like you have to wake up and remind yourself every single day?
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, every day. Another phrase that I say is like, it doesn't have to be intense to be good. Back to like the yoga thing, like totally. I want it to be like 100% or I'm not doing it. And I just have to say, no, it doesn't have to be intense to be good and worthwhile and valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, just again, reminding ourselves that we don't have to fix things, and even fixing ourselves can lead to a lot of unmet expectations and a lot less grace than we actually need. Your advice is so good, Shelby.
Totally.
Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like to add as an Enneagram 1? Because I know you came prepared. So is there anything else that you find beneficial for an Enneagram 1 to know? Or someone who's not, I'm encouraging everyone to listen to this because, like you said, it's so good to understand other people. Like, there was a time in my life when I couldn't realize why my husband could not help the kids out, like when they were crying and, they needed food. And he's like, you are seeing that and reacting to that and trying to fix that before it is even registered in my mind that there's a problem. And I'm like, oh, like you don't even see it. Like that's just who you are. Like that's just not going off in your mind. And I was like, oh, so I could like kind of let go of the expectation that he's not even seeing this happen. Like it's just not even on his radar. In the same way as my sister, she's an Enneagram 7 and she just doesn't see that stuff very quickly, And I feel like Enneagram 1s, like we're all about like fix it, reform, make it better,
And I'm thinking like everyone should listen to these. Why don't they all understand? It's okay. If everyone doesn't listen, that's okay. But if you do listen to a number that isn't yours and you're listening right now, don't criticize Enneagram 1s very much. Be gentle with them because they've already like corrected themselves. Like when they make a mistake, they know it. They're dealing with it. And I think affirmation is like really helpful for Enneagram 1 in relationship with other people. It's like they just need to be like told, Enneagram 1s need to be told that like you're doing good. Like your, of course I use the word good, but like your commitment is good. Your desire to love on yourself and health. Like I think affirmation is so helpful. We want to know that we're doing something worthwhile. I don't know how else Enneagram 1s can be loved very well because I do kind of think maybe I am difficult to love because all I want is that affirmation. But also as an Enneagram 1 myself, like something that I've like learned is that we're like so uptight and give off the wrong impression to other people. So if you know a 1 or someone who like constantly is like giving you a dirty look, they're not giving you a dirty look. It's an Enneagram 1. They're just dealing with the inner critic in their head. So that I should put that in the list of things I don't really like about us, but I'm working through it and learning to be more warm as a 1.
Yeah. That's so good, Shelby. Such great advice. I really thank you for being here and being willing to come on the show and talk about it. It has been fantastic, and you have offered so much advice and practical information. And I think it's just so good to know, man, like some of these things, it's just like, oh, it feels so good to know I'm not alone. Like it feels so good in some ways to know that my inner critic isn't the only one that's running wild inside my brain. I'm not crazy. Like this is normal. It's part of who I am, and there are ways to be healthy at any type. And it's using these strengths to get ourselves there, like you said, to kind of overcoming the weaknesses with what we're good at and using more of that. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your advice. I hope it was fun for you too.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Before we go though, I have a few quick fire questions. So I do this on every show. Okay. So just really quickly, just whatever you can think of. So first off, what is the first thing you do every morning for your health?
I wish I could say that I journal or I read or something, but I get up and I move my body right away. If I don't, it's like a terrible day. So I try and get up, drink my pre-workout, go right to the workout before excuses come up or to-do lists. So move my body right away.
Okay, so this is just something that popped in my head. Do you feel like, Enneagram 1s are action takers. They're naturally very active people. Do you feel like when you, like, it's just like this intense drive inside of your body to move right away? Like,
Um,
or do you feel like you
yeah,
have to work at it?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of working it and to get into the routine of it, but I definitely don't feel like this longing to sit on the couch with a cup of coffee as a one. I've never, like, I'd like to just get right to it and we can relax later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. What is your favorite health book?
Okay. I need to, like, shout out all the Enneagram ones. Does anyone read, like, really intensely? Because as an Enneagram one, I just feel like I don't read enough, and it's because I can't, like, make the time for it, and I can't do it perfectly, and so I'm like, well, what's the point? I mean, it's like a nightmare to think about getting through a book halfway and not finishing it, and so a lot of times I just don't even pick them up, so I was like, a health book, huh? I have to be honest here because I have a lot of integrity and moral standards as a one. I don't have a favorite health book.
Yeah, no, that's great. I totally see that. I didn't know people didn't read books in their entirety. I didn't know that was a thing. Like, I just thought once you picked it up, even if you didn't like it, you just finish it because that's what you did.
You have to. You have to see the course.
And my sister's like, no, I can't make it past like 20 pages and I'm done. And I'm like, what? Like, that's it. Like, don't you just need to know? Like, sometimes I'll find myself like going pretty quickly through it, like not picking up a lot of information, but I want to get to the end. Like, I have to get to the end.
That's so funny. See, if I'm not picking up the information, then I'm not reading it. Like, I'm just like, I can't do that if I can't, like, glisten from every single word. So it's a big commitment.
Yeah, I can see that. The one book that keeps being recommended, I think, for ones is the book called The Gifts of Imperfection. I've not read it, but I can see how maybe that would be beneficial for a one. That was the top health book that was recommended for a one. Okay, what is one food you couldn't live without? It can be any food.
Tacos.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tacos. I wanted to say eggs, but tacos for sure. It's comforting and it's fast. And I'm talking authentic tacos, not like shredded cheese and shredded lettuce on a flour tortilla, like authentic tacos.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I always get tripped up with the question, if you had nothing else to eat, would it be tacos or pizza? I'm like super torn between that, but authentic tacos I might be able to do forever. Okay, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received and you want to leave us with? It doesn't have to relate to an Enneagram one, just advice in general.
Yeah, I think this can relate to anyone and any type. And I, for the longest time, thought it was ridiculous advice, but my mom always tells me it's only a season. And I'm like, okay, but I'm in the season, so it's difficult to hear that right now, you know? But it has, like, just rung true through every stage and every difficult circumstance and even good circumstances. Like, it's only a season. It's only going to last so long. Like, you can endure, and you don't have to, like, have been arrived somewhere in this season. Like, it's a journey. Life is a journey. My health pursuit is a journey. So just, like, reminding myself of that it's only a season is really helpful for me. And I don't know why, like, it just recently really has rung true and helped me get through some stuff. Yeah,
that's really great, practical, basic, simple advice that we can all use. So thank you so much for sharing. Shelby, thank you so much again for being here. You are such a light, and I'm sure everyone's going to love this interview. So thanks for sticking with me and doing this.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, that was so fun, and I'm so glad that I'm doing this little interview series because I really did learn so much from Shelby. She had so much encouragement and insight into an Enneagram Type 1, and as you can see, she's really taken this advice, this practical advice, and implemented it into her life. And that, my friend, is exactly what self-care looks like. It's this ebb and flow, the seasonality, but really just digging and uncovering who you are enough to know how to create these nourishing life rhythms that makes health not just something that you do, but who you are. And that's the importance in this Ennea Health series. So I just want to thank you again so much for being here. If you wouldn't mind sharing this with your friends and family, I would love that. Take a screenshot of the podcast and share it on Instagram or Facebook. Make sure you tag me at Alexa Sherm and leave a comment about why you're loving the show. Also, if you wouldn't mind taking a few minutes to rate and review the show, you can do that over at simpleritswellness.com/review. These ratings and reviews mean the world to me, and they help other people who wouldn't otherwise hear about the show find it and like it and follow along to create a community of like-minded people who want to create this revival in the health industry, to make it more about who we are and less about just something we do. That's my hope and that's my mission. So thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to come back next week. We're going to be diving into the Enneagram 2. This is my own personal Enneagram type, so I'm excited to share more and to help other people in this journey and uncovering their true identity, their true self, and how knowing this can actually create the self-care that they've been looking for. So thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to head to the show notes at simpleitswellness.com/182 to get all the information on today's show, where to learn more about Shelby and what she does, and also grab that free download if you're an Enneagram Type 1. I will see you back here next week.